If you know anything about mechanical keyboards, it is quite the huge market, and it's mainly targeted towards gamers nowadays. And of all the gaming brands, Razer is probably the most well known. Well, recently they released this, their latest keyboard, and it's a Blackwidow V3 Mini Hyperspeed. It's not a TKL, it's not a 60%, it's actually a 65%. And this might just be the next hottest form factor. Now, for those of you who aren't too familiar with the terms used in the keyboard scene, well, here's a quick rundown. Your standard keyboard, which includes the F-row and the numpad, and perhaps a macro column that's considered full size, also known as 100%. If you remove the numpad, you get the most popular keyboard layout, commonly known as TKL, which stands for 10 keyless and can also be known as 80%. Now, if you take the home and arrow cluster away along with the F-row, you then get a 60%, which is also really popular for those who really want a compact keyboard but without losing a ton of core functionality. But there are a lot of people out there who can't live without dedicated arrow keys, and for that, we get the 65%, which isn't really all that bigger compared to the 60%, for it's just an extra column of keys. All in all, a 65% keyboard is still really compact and you don't lose your arrow keys. And I guess that's why this might be getting much more in popularity moving forward, and arguably, 65% is my favorite layout. In any case, if you are familiar with the Blackwidow series from Razer, this fits right in that family, with that familiar wedge-shaped design, that glossy front lip with the illuminated Razer logo, and that aluminum top which acts as the plate for the exposed switches while also providing rigidity and a little bit of heft to an otherwise all-plastic board. But now, let's talk about features. At the back, you get a USB-C port and a power switch which toggles between the two main wireless modes. You get your standard Bluetooth and Razer's Hyperspeed wireless technology via 2.4 GHz using a dongle, which can be found and kept away in a small little compartment underneath the keyboard should you not want to use it. But if you want to get a 1000Hz ultra polling, you have to use Hyperspeed. The dongle is also clearly labelled, which is a really good thing because all the Hyperspeed dongles across Razer products are exactly the same, like the one on my own personal Basilisk X Hyperspeed. So, to be able to easily identify which is which is just a good thing. But what's really cool is that you can pair up to two Hyperspeed devices to just one dongle, so it'll free up one USB port on your desktop or laptop, which I think anyone will appreciate. But do note, at the moment, there is only a limited list of compatible devices that can utilize this function at this point in time. So for example, the recently released ROG V2 from Razer, that supports this feature. But my Basilisk X Hyperspeed, which came quite a while back, well, this doesn't, so slight bummer. Now, I wasn't able to fully test out this feature because I don't really have any of the compatible devices with me together at this point in time, but there are already reviews out there that mention this issue, and some of the problems that may arise are things like snaps acting up, the chroma RGB not synchronizing, and worst of all, some latency issues. So personally, I would suggest to not use this feature and would just strictly keep it to each individual dongle, one-to-one. That's probably for the best. On the bottom, you also get flip-out fit for two different angles at 6 degrees and 9 degrees respectively. So, a total of 3 different angles for you to choose to get comfortable with. Speaking of which, let's talk about the keycaps. These are double-shot ABS keycaps, and I would say that they are of high quality. The legends are clean and sharp, and of course it's see-through, so you get the full force of that RGB. As this is a compact keyboard, to not create too much of a cluttered look, the secondary functions are printed on the sides, and if you press on the function key to access that layer, the RGB would actually switch to white and illuminate only those keys, helping you identify them just a tad quicker. A nice touch. As for the switches, you get two options, either the Razer Green, which is a clicky tactile switch, or the Razer Yellow, which is their silent linear switch and has been improved with sound dampeners this generation. On our review unit, we have the Razer Yellow, and it is my preferred choice between the two options. The switch is a linear, which means a smooth travel through the entire stroke, has an actuation force of 45 grams, an actuation point of 1.2mm, and a total travel distance of 3.5mm. If you know anything about mechanical switches, the specs on the Razer Yellow are almost exactly the same as the Cherry MX Speed Silver. Honestly, the Razer Yellow feels really good, and I actually quite like it, especially on the alphas, even more so considering that these are stock switches. Just don't be fooled when Razer says that these are silent switches, because they aren't really that silent. Take a listen to both the Razer Yellow on the Razer Blackwidow V3 Mini Hyperspeed and compare that to the Zeus Rail on my Ramaworks Kara. Now of course, they are both very different boards, but to just give you a point of reference, and I hope it did, a true silent switch against the Razer Yellows. But again, even if the Razer Yellows were actually silent, it doesn't really help at all when the steps on the board are dead rattly. You can hear them clear as day. But now, let's talk battery life, and Razer claims up to 200 hours, which I've yet to reach for sure, given my short time with it. But that number can only be reached if you turn off the RGB, and personally that's what I do, but probably for most of you out there who are looking at this keyboard, you want that RGB. So if you have the RGB at max brightness, you get roughly 13 or 14 hours of use out of it. If you lower it down to 50% or lower, you basically get about twice that or more. Regardless, Razer does have some battery saving options in Synapse, where the board will turn off after X minutes of inactivity or dim the lighting before that happens to help save battery. So all in all, the Razer Blackwidow V3 Mini Hyperspeed is actually quite a good board. I quite like it, but here's the catch. And it's something that everybody is talking about: the price. This board retails for $179.99 US dollars or $309.90 Singapore dollars. That's pretty expensive, to be honest, especially so when it's quite a simple board with just wireless functionality. I was actually quite hyped for this board when it first announced it, but when I saw that price, it actually kind of dampened all the excitement that I had for it. To put the price into perspective, the closest competitor would be the ROG Falcon, and that keyboard not only comes with more switches to choose from, double shot PPT keycaps, a unique touch panel on the left, and more than twice the battery life. On top of all that, it is actually more affordable than Razer. And if you're just looking at a 65% layout and don't really need the wireless functionality, well, there are even more options out there, such as the Strix 65, the Ducky 12 SF, or even a Keychron K6 which is Bluetooth capable. To that end, we are already approaching entry-level custom territory with the likes of the NK65, the EK68, and the KBD67 Lite. But that's a story for another day. In short, unless you really need dual wireless functionality, or you really like the Razer Green or the Razer Yellow switches, I can't really recommend this keyboard. Not at this price. Anyways, that was a look at the Razer Blackwidow V3 Mini Hyperspeed. If you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below, and if you'd like to, do check out the affiliate links in the description. If you do, thanks for the support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Till the next one. See ya!